In today's episode of the podcast, I'm sharing some progress I'm making on a theory I'm testing about how to beat a knitting slump. I also have some progress on another project I'm working on that's unrelated to knitting, and then I have a really fun story to share with you that has something to do with Fiber for the People yarn, my hand-dyed yarn business, and something really awesome that happened like a few days ago. So if all of that sounds like your cozy cup of tea, get comfortable and let's dive in. Hello, and welcome to the Wool Needles Hands Knitting Podcast. My name is Tayler, and I will be your host. I just set this down after doing the intro, and this is a cup of tea that I'm having right now, and I had to share this with you because I took a sip for the first time ever trying this tea right after that intro, and this is really, really good. It's by Tayler of Harrogate. Taylor's of Harrogate Tea Company. I don't have the bag with me, but you can kind of see. That's the, whatever, you might be familiar with this, but it's sour cherry, and it's called a fruit infusion tea, and it is delicious. I just took a sip of it, and I was just completely just blown away by how flavorful it is. It's really, really good. I put it in this clear mug because I thought that it would be really pretty, and it totally is that. Look at how nice. Isn't that so nice? I'm playing this trick on myself right now. Some of you ask why I wear long sleeves when I talk about how hot it is outside. Well, that's because I don't spend a lot of time outside when it's hot like this. I mean, we go out, we do things like that. And sometimes I do wear long sleeves because I just like to be, protect from the sun during the the most intense parts of the day. But when I'm home, and today's Sunday, and it's a very lazy Sunday, I feel like I try to trick myself into thinking that maybe it's just not quite as torrid as it is actually outside. And when it's inside our home, even though we keep our air, a little higher, 78, 79 right now during this heat wave we're having, it's still nice inside, and you can get away with wearing a real, this is a very lightweight little long sleeve t-shirt. But you may also notice I'm wearing overalls today, which might seem a little like, oh, she's got overalls on. All right. Okay. Overalls. Yeah. Well, I just got these. They're Levi's, and I've been wanting to purchase a pair of overalls for quite some time after I realized that the trend kind of, not because the trend is back, but because I've seen them more, it's caused me to realize how much I actually really do like wearing denim overalls. And so I picked these up at Anthropologie yesterday, and I wanted to give them a little try. So I got them on, and they're super cozy. I'm drinking hot tea with overalls and a long sleeve t-shirt. I think I'm pushing it a little bit, to be honest. But that's okay. We're just going to trick the old brain into thinking that maybe it's not quite, like I said, so hot outside. I hope you guys are having a wonderful July. If you are in the Southern Hemisphere, cozied up in midwinter, yeah, just a little bit envious of you. I love that for you, and I hope you're enjoying all of it. It's been a nice summer. We're having a great time, but right now we're going through a pretty intense heat wave. Whatever, how that goes. All right, I want to share with you guys some things today. I do have some progress I've made on my knitting, something new, something I haven't done on the channel just personally in a while, but obviously I haven't shared any of this on the channel recently. And then something else I've been working on as well. And like I mentioned in the beginning, I do have a story that I think is really cool that I want to share with you. So last time I uploaded a video, it was on a theory I had about how to bust out of a knitting slump, which I do feel like I have been in a knitting slump for quite some time, and I was testing this theory on how to break out of it. If you haven't watched that video, I definitely recommend you do it. Whether you're experiencing a knitting slump or not, definitely check it out. I'll link to it up here, but I'll drop it down in the description as well. But what I ended up doing was casting on to my first color work project in quite some time. And I'm drawing a blank at the name of this. I don't know why. I forget the names of things, even when I'm working on it and enjoying it. Okay, this is called the Pinasa. This is a design, pardon me, by Elena Solier Jonza. I apologize if I'm pronouncing that incorrectly, but this is the Pinasa. I'll pop a picture up so you can see it here, and I have it here in front of me. Now, in that video, I talk about possibly using this as a way to break a knitting slump. It is so out of left field in terms of what I really thought I was in the mood to knit, considering the season and the temperature and all of these things. But it turns out I'm actually really enjoying this. And watch the video. Okay, so I'm knitting this with Lovely Valley Wool yarn. So this is a cone of yarn from Lovely Valley Wool, which is Nevada born and raised merino rambouillet cross. It is beautiful fleece, beautiful yarn. It's a 2-ply sport weight yarn. This can also be found in the Fiber for the People yarn shop, which is my yarn business, under the Born, Shorn, and Dyed label. It is a collection of yarn I offer, and I dye that base that I procure from, or I source, I guess you could say, from Lovely Valley Wool, the Dufferina sheep farm. So what I just showed you here, this is natural gray. This is the natural fleece color. And what I have here is a colorway that I just featured in a shop update collection. It is so bright. It's much more bright on the screen right now. It's almost like a citron yellow. Maybe if I bring it back a little bit kind of out of focus, you can kind of see that it's a little bit more, there's a little bit more of a depth to the tone here, and I am holding it back so it's not quite so bright, but there's more of depth to this beautiful yellow here. Now, I wasn't going to use this with this color work project. I was actually going to use just a plain ecru color of that same yarn. But after having this shop update and seeing this color on the yarn in person, I realized, well, I didn't realize right away. I came out and I brought it and I set the two together like this. I'm going to hold it back a little bit. And I really loved the way that they look together. And then I asked Brandon, my husband, what he thought, and he thought it was fantastic. So I went with it because it's color work. I haven't done color work in so long, and it's a fun color, and I'm really loving it so far. So this is actually a colorway from the collection I just featured that is inspired by the cover of the book Vampires of El Norte by Isabel Cañas, a book I have just recently read and absolutely loved. I'm going to talk more about this later. This is the color Chicadas. Hello, lovely people. I'm coming to you before you come to me in the comment section. This is actually pronounced chichadas, so it's Spanish for cicadas, which are, it's kind of an insect that we have here. They're everywhere, but we have them a lot right now this season, but they're those buzzing insects that live in the trees, especially during monsoon season here in the Southwest. They're called cicadas. The word in Spanish is chichadas, not chicadas. I was thinking about cicadas, so yeah, you'll probably come at me in the comments about that, but I get it. I know it was a mispronunciation, but we say chichadas for cicadas in Spanish. And it's an insect that has kind of an exoskeleton that has this yellow color to it, and it's featured and mentioned a lot in the book Vampires of El Norte. Okay, so that's what that is. Well, this is what I have so far of my pinasa. And how pretty is that together? Now, the colorwork motif here is supposed to kind of reflect, like, it's inspired by conifers, okay? Like pine cones, pine trees. It's trying to focus on my face through the neck hole. I'm loving this. I'm absolutely loving it. The colorwork pattern is actually really easy. It's just two color stranded color work. These are the floats I've got so far. But it's very simple. I kind of think I may want to incorporate the basic, just the plain ecru color yarn at some point in the color work. I have it back here. Because sometimes I feel like, well, I don't know, I feel like adding a third color, just not all over the motif, but maybe like in the middle of the motif, can do a lot to add a little bit more visual interest and depth, which I think can sometimes be really helpful. So I'm thinking, why am I holding that? Let's try this. How do we do this? Okay, so it would be like the main color obviously is this gray, and then this would be the main contrasting color with a little bit of this kind of white in there. Okay, that's kind of what I'm thinking I'm going to do in the kind of like the middle of the motif. So I'll show you where I'm talking about. You'll see on the screen here the main motif of this design. If you look at the center portion, those kind of, they're supposed to be conifer, like pine cone type designs in the middle there. The little middle parts of those I might make white. I don't know why. I just kind of think that that would look cool. Just a little punch of some additional color in there, maybe. I'm not sure. But I'm loving this so far. What I did here, I've modified the pattern a little bit because this pattern has you doing a applied neckline, which means that you start by knitting the yoke, and then you go back and you add the neckline later. Well, I didn't want to do that because I don't like the way that that looks. And so I decided I was just going to go ahead and cast on and create my ribbed neckline and then create the yoke after that. And that's all I did differently here. and I think it's going to be fine. My gauge is such that I was able to go with the smallest size here to make up for the difference in the gauge that I'm getting with this yarn and these needles. But I just love it. I just love the color. It's so pretty. Watching that develop is going to be a lot of fun. And you know, this is not, I was thinking that this was going to be super heavy and hot and just woolly and more than I want right now, but this actually doesn't feel like that at all. This yarn is really pleasantly light and airy. It doesn't have a lot of, it's not very dense. It's not very heavy. So the actual yarn itself almost is kind of a mix between a woolen and a worsted spun. So there's some air in the fibers, making it kind of a really nice light spongy yarn, which I love. You can kind of see if you get up close in there, maybe. I really love it. So that is my Panasa. I'm loving it. I'm testing that theory, and I'm pleasantly surprised that I think I'm onto something with this theory. Watch the video and let me know your thoughts in the comment section of that video. But my knitting slump, I wouldn't say that I'm completely out of it yet, but I feel things working, which is exciting. So that is my Panasa. Excited about this. I feel like when I look at this right now, the neck hole, it obviously fits. It's not that it doesn't fit, but it'll open up when I block it. But I didn't, I have this thing about like real wide necklines on sweaters. I feel like a sweater should fit. I don't know what my thoughts are. I just didn't really love the neckline as it was shown on this sweater. I wanted something more crew necky, like more of a crew neck. Okay. And that's kind of what I'm going for here. So I made this more of a crew neck and not so much of a wide round neck, if that makes any sense, almost like a boat neck. So yeah. Oh, I love this. Okay, so loving that. That is my Panasa. That is my color work that I'm working on. I'm excited to be working on some color work, and that's all I'm going to share with you for knitting right now. The next thing I want to share with you, though, is something else that I've kind of become obsessed with in terms of like tinkering around and hobbies, and that those are Booknooks. Now, I'm not sure if you are familiar with this whole movement of creating miniature Booknooks, but I am absolutely obsessed. And this is my latest one that I'm working on right now. It's a Shakespeare's bookstore, which I believe is an actual bookstore. I think it's supposed to be kind of based on an actual bookstore in France, in Paris. I'm not 100% sure. I'll pop a picture up of the box so you can kind of see what this is that I'm working on. But it's, yeah, it's a miniature book nook. And I am absolutely crazy about it. Look at how cute all of the little details are. So I've done a few now. Most of them that I do, all the books that you see on the shelves would be individual. You would pretty much make individual books and stack them on the shelf. This is a decal or a piece that actually has that on it. These ones, however, are individual books. And then, of course, the ones that are stacked on the floor here. Isn't that the coolest thing? I'm obsessed. And then the lights, I already have all of the electrical stuff. This is the back. So here's the battery pack, or no, this is the battery pack. And then underneath, I don't want to knock it. You can see I've run the cords down that way. There's a little touchpad right here that turns on this light that I need to straighten like that. Isn't it the cutest thing? This has really become kind of a little bit of a side obsession. I love sitting down and working on these. It requires, so it seems like it would be something that would require so much patience and so much like time and little tiny and everything. It's really hard to put together, but it's really pleasantly not that complicated. So it's not hard. It's time consuming, but not even really as time consuming as you probably think it would be by looking at this. All of the pieces work together and come together in a way that you really, this one I haven't had to use much glue at all. The only time I've really had to glue anything here is just like this plant that's sitting here as I glued it down there. The plant that's down here on there, I glued that down. Things like that where, you know, you don't want them bumping off and falling over. That kind of stuff is glued down, but otherwise assembling everything snaps together, which makes it super nice. A lot of fun to do. In fact, over on Patreon, If you are not a member of the Patreon for Wool Needles Hands, definitely go check it out, see if it's for you. But over there, I have to do a part 2. I haven't done that yet, but I have a part 1 just showing a little bit of me working on one of these to kind of give a look at what it looks like when you assemble all of that. Definitely check that out. There's good stuff over on the Patreon, you guys. I did a whole video of me making my favorite summer salad. This wine glass had spots on it. So that's what we're doing today, is making a salad. So let's go ahead and get started. But first I'm gonna pour myself a glass of this Sauvignon Blanc. Babe, you want one? You got a new bottle of wine. Set this over here. And actually, this goes in the fridge. We're gonna need this. Just not yet. Is it cutting my head off? And it was a lot of fun. Brandon's in it. I'm drinking some wine. It's a really good time. All of that is over there on the Patreon. So definitely consider it, check it out. But I do have a video where I'm putting together one of these. And it's a lot of fun. I just really enjoy sitting down and kind of zoning in on this little project in times when maybe I'm in between knitting and reading and doing other things. It's just something fun to do. You can get one of these. I'll link to this one and the other ones I've done over on Amazon. You can get them on Amazon. They're anywhere between $35 and $40 US for the ones that I've found. You can spend more for bigger ones, less for smaller ones, but you definitely want to make sure whichever ones you purchase, the pieces snap together. Some of them are less, like the pieces don't stay together. You almost have to hold them in place and then glue them. And I don't want any of that. Like that to me does not sound appealing. That sounds much more complicated than I'm after. What's nice about this is that when you go to assemble something like the bookshelf here, these pieces snap and stay together. That's how it works. They just stay together. And that's what makes it nice, is you don't have to glue everything down. Some pieces may not stay together as well by just the design and the way that it was like cut out or whatever, but those are far and few between, and you can just use a little bit of super glue and it's fine. But for the most part, everything snaps and stays together, which is fantastic. So I love these. Booknooks are my newest obsession. I absolutely love them. And that is my most recent one that I have been working on. The next thing I wanted to share with you guys, this is just kind of a fun story that made my week last week and last weekend and this weekend, and I'm just so excited about it. Okay, so as some of you may know, and if you watch Brandon and my BookTube channel here on YouTube, Good Books Lately, then you are aware of this. It's a YouTube channel that my husband and I host where we talk about books that we're reading. It's a lot of fun. Definitely check it out. It's a good time. I have recently finished these 2 books by Isabel Cañas. So we have The Hacienda and Vampires of El Norte, and I loved each of them. They're so fantastic. These are, I just love them. I love the stories. I love the characters. I love the setting. It's Mexico in the 1840s when we're seeing the borders shift between Texas and Mexico. It's just a really fantastic set of stories, and I love it. I'm also so inspired by the covers of these books. They're beautiful. Just look at how cool the covers are. The style, the colors, and I knew that I wanted to create 2 Fiber for the People colorway collections to reflect not only some of the elements inside the story, but also the covers of the books. And so I did that. The first collection I did was based on this book here called The Hacienda. And I will pop some pictures up of the yarn because I no longer have the yarn. This was the update from last weekend. So here is the colorway collection for the Hacienda. I did 1 variegated color and I did 6 solid colors. All of them are on this yarn base. I shouldn't say that one because that's natural gray. It's this one, the Ecru, which is so bright. This is the Merino Rambouillet yarn base from the Dufferina Sheep Company, my Born, Shorn, and Dyed collection. Okay, so all of these colorways were on that yarn. So beautiful. This is what my colorway collection was for the Hacienda. And then this last weekend, I did the same concept, but I did it with Vampires of El Norte, which is this book here. And I will show you a picture here of what the colorway collection looked like for that update this last Saturday. I loved all the yarn. I loved the collection of colors. I loved that variegated color in both of these particular collections. But what really just made it for me was that when the Hacienda update went live that night, I had posted something on Instagram that afternoon mentioning that the update was live. And we went out and we were doing some things and we came home and Brandon asked me if I had seen on Instagram that my post about my shop update had been shared by Isabel Cañas, which is the author of these books. And I hadn't noticed because I hadn't looked in a while. And so I looked and I realized that Isabel Cañas, the author of these 2 books, had seen my post, and she had shared my post on her Instagram stories about how much she loved the fact that I created a yarn collection based on her books, and that she likes to crochet. She's into crochet, and that it just really inspired her, and she was into it and she really liked it. And I was totally floored. I thought that was so cool because she writes these books. Like it's a thing. Like, she is the author of these 2 books that I really love, and that's super surreal to me. And it was so special. And so I sent her a message letting her know how much I appreciated the shout out and how much of an honor it is to do the collection because of how much I really love these stories. So I wanted to share that with you because it really blew me away. And so she started following me on Instagram, I guess once she saw those original posts. And then this last weekend I did another one. This is something I had planned for since the end of last month. So when I sent the newsletter out at the end of last month, it was to let folks know that these updates were coming. And so the next following update was going to be the Vampires of El Norte collection, which I will show you here. Well, when I posted these, she also saw this, which is less surprising because she was following me, but still so cool that she commented that she was obsessed, and she commented below the picture, and then she shared it on her Instagram. And I am just so tickled by it because it means so much to me. I don't know what to compare that to, but it's really pretty wild. And yeah, but it was just very cool. And I don't know what to compare that to other than I don't know if it's not like a starstruck thing. It's just like this strange shrinking of the world, and some those like small little things that social media can do sometimes that is pretty magical. And I don't know, when you read a book and the book really resonates with you and you really enjoy it, the writer of that book kind of holds a special place in your mind and your memory and your love of books. They kind of are there because they created this thing that you just really enjoyed, and it will always stay with you. And so I don't know, I guess that was really special, and I wanted to share that with you guys. Other than this just arrived at my door just a couple seconds ago. Not my door, like my house door, my office door. My son brought this guy to me. This is Big Teddy. Isn't he the cutest thing? And Big Teddy has, I don't know where it is. He has a hole, and I have to fix Big Teddy. It's very important. I don't know where. I'd have to have, this is Ronan's, by the way. Yeah, there's a little hole right there in Big Teddy's seam that I gotta fix. So I got this guy, and then Blue Teddy came in with Big Teddy because apparently Blue Teddy, this is Ronan's main squeeze. This is the teddy bear that's been with Ronan, my youngest son, who's 6, since he was born, and he seems to have some loose stitches. He's been stitched up the back and restuffed a couple of times, but now he feels like he's well loved, but his stitches are coming apart. So this is something that's going to be keeping me busy here in the next little bit. Oh yeah, he's been restitched quite a few times, but isn't that the cutest thing? Our little kids aren't the little teddies. Look at this little guy. He's so important, this little guy. So sweet. So that's something I'm going to be carrying on with in just a minute here. But that's all I have to share with you guys today. Thank you so much for taking the time to hang out with me. Definitely check out this Sour Cherry Tea by Taylor's of Harrogate. Not sponsored by any of what you see here. Just a fan. But this has been nice. This has been fun to sit with you to try out my new overalls. Chances are I'm going to go take them off now. It's getting a little warm. But yeah, enjoy yourself. Happy knitting, happy making, happy whatever it is that you're doing. And I will see you on the next episode of the Midweek Ramble, which is scheduled to come out on Wednesday. Until then, have a great rest of your weekend or week, whenever you happen to be watching this, and I will see you soon. Bye.